uh, um,
He is
we
very
did a number
talented,
of,
isn't he?
sorry.
He's very talented. He's a singer and a showman.
Oh, yes.
He reminds me of one of my uncles, Bluey, who was a rodeo clown, but he was pretty much anything. He could do anything. He was a bush poet, a singer. He could yodel and ride anything that had legs on it, you know. And he was. It reminds me of him. He's a real, just, you know, a talented character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a very talented young man, Bo. He still is.
He is. Well,
Yeah.
I'm really keen to pick your brains about how you see Wing Chun, because, as I said, when I saw your videos the first time, I was so impressed. Particularly, there was one we wrote to each other about, but you were sort of slapping the dummy, but you were just talking about that effortless, natural, relaxed power. And
Yeah.
could you just sort of tell us the way you feel with Wing Chun, how you think about effortless power and how we use our body, like over so many years of teaching and thinking about and practicing? I'd love to get your wise advice, because a lot of people are listening, looking for ways to train themselves, and I'm always banging away about effortless force and relaxing and using your mind and you know, the right things, but I'm keen to get wisdom from somebody like yourself to add to that. You know,
I'll do my best, Dave. And people can take it how they see it. But there's something very interesting about that. And if I say something no one wants to know, or if you say something no one wants to know, but if you say something and then I say it, it gives it a bit of a third party.
Yeah, that's right.
Support, you know. But so I'd like to refer to something that I think it was Jack Dempsey said. And he said, he was talking to a guy and he said, I can get a 10-year-old kid to knock you out. And this big boxer goes, and he said, yes, he said, I can. He said, if you stand there on the pavement outside the window and I drop a 10-year-old kid out the first floor here, he said, and drop him onto your head, that's probably going to knock you out.
Yeah, right.
And, so it's about using mass and momentum. So you have to employ your mass, all of your momentum. So when you hit something or slap something, you're not just hitting them with your hand, but you're hitting them. Now your hand might weigh, I don't know, let's say your hand weighs and your arm weighs 5 kilos and you can hit them with that. But if you weigh, I'm a bit overweight at the moment, 100 kilos, and you can put all of that 100 kilos in that hand, then you're going to do a lot of damage. And that's what he was referring to in a sense. You've got to be able to put your mass in your hand. And that's why boxers with a good knockout record, you'll notice that despite what a lot of other people say that you can do it jumping up in the air or whatever, sure you can, but to accumulate as much mass as possible, there's lots of studies and all sorts of athletics, boxing, different sports that prove that the longer you are in contact with the ground, the more mass and power you can produce. So it's a simple fact. However, going back to releasing energy and putting mass into an object like your hand, I had what I call the gumboot test. Now, I don't know if you've heard of the gumboot test. I think you Aussies are quite familiar with gumboots, so are you, or is that jandals? What do they call them, jandals over there?
You guys call them thongs. We call thongs, you call them jandals, but gumboots are Wellingtons, aren't they?
Wellingtons. Oh, okay, well, that's probably more English, Scottish name, is it?
We call them wellies, Wellingtons, or gumboots.
Oh, right.
Big
Yeah,
rubber
well, you're
ones.
familiar with gumboots. So I think you've got a lot of sheep over there. So
Yeah, we get
the gumboots.
the legs into
The
there.
gumboot, the gumboot test is I say to, I've done this a couple of times to people, and maybe I shouldn't let the secret out actually, but I will. I said to this guy one day, I said, he didn't believe me about a couple of things. I said, just lie down on the ground. So he lays down on the ground, face up, and I said, just put your hands by your side. And he put his hands by his side, and I reached around and I picked up a gumboot, and I held it over his head and over his face, right up in the air like that. And I said, now I'm just going to drop this gumboot on your face. Well, he got up real quick, Dave. So gravity does the job for you. You employ gravity to do the job, and you develop your mass into your palm or into your strike or into your body and through momentum. Now this goes right back to an ancient saying that chi, or energy, likes to travel in straight lines, and it doesn't like to flow through locked joints or tense muscles.
Right.
So when you're doing your form, your Sulam Tao, one of the, just get the first movement right. Most people don't know what the first movement is. Everyone, like when I first started, you're interested in fighting. You got to get the first movement right, which is just standing there. And you must elongate your spine. And I simply explain it as just opening the joints. You must open the joints of the body. You open this joint, this joint, this joint, this joint, this joint, this joint, all of the joints from the ground up. When you're standing in your form, you should feel taller.
Right.
But you must feel like a tree. And a lot of people misinterpret this sort of feeling like a tree, the pole stance or the tree stance, or however they might like to call it. It's not about being so rooted that you can't be moved, because I'll tell you what, I don't care which Wing Chun person or Kung Fu person in the world, if you just stand there and be rooted like a tree, I don't care how good your foundation is, someone can just barrel you right off it. So obviously you've got to learn a whole lot of other things as well.
Yeah.
But the idea of being rooted like a tree, it's about how you move. Sulam Tao is not about standing still. Standing in Yiji Kimyun Ma is not about standing still. It's about learning how to move. It's learning, first of all, to circulate chi through your body, which is one of the things that obviously, you're interested in, I know from your videos.
Yeah.
And the easiest way for it to flow through your body is it must be unimpeded. Otherwise it's like, if you've got a light switch on the wall, the power can't reach the light. So you've got to open it.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll just throw in something there. A good Chinese friend of mine, Sue Chung, who I haven't seen for a couple of years, but she's an older Chinese lady, and she was new to Wing Chun, but a very literate Chinese person from Hong Kong. Very Chinese. And she sat with me and a couple of others and listened to Sigong's video back when it was just in Cantonese, and you know, we used to watch it, but you didn't know what he was saying, and she translated it for me. And because she didn't know, she hadn't really been trained in Wing Chun, she just told me what he was saying straight out. And there came a point where she said, he says that your joints are broken, that you have lame joints. And I said, what does that mean? That's a strange idea. She goes, oh, Chinese people all know that. I'm going, well, we don't, Aussies don't. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Lame joints, what does that mean? She goes, well, it really means you don't have any joints. He was saying that you'll become one thing that doesn't have joints. And a real light bulb went on for me, and I thought, because for quite a while I'd been taught and working on the idea of effortlessly turning your joints, but sort of thinking about joints spinning and turning and whatever. But as soon as she said that, I thought, because if you haven't got any joints, your body becomes this one thing. Like I sometimes think of it like a bag of fluid that's just moving, but there's no choke points. It's just one thing. So when I do this, that's expressing, all of this is in it intrinsically because there's no joints anyway. So that I can't remember, it was an actual Chinese saying that she said everyone knows. So but yeah, that I like what you said about it, it stops the chi if your joints are, what did you say, that they're closed?
If the joints are locked,
Locked.
So any tension, any muscular tension or locking of the joints impedes energy. You can't express power if you're tensed up.
Yep.
You have to let go, or as Sifu Bo would say, you must release.
Yeah, and what you said about gravity before really grabs me too, because I started Wing Chun in 97, but around about 98, there was a little new age bookshop near where I lived, and I bought this book called Tao, the Watercourse Way by Alan Watts, who was this English scholar who sort of introduced Zen to the West. He was a very smart guy, and he's quite well known, but I didn't know him. And I'm reading this book, and it said, he was talking about Aikido masters, and I think this book was written in the 50s, but he was saying that they make gravity flow sideways by being relaxed. And I drew a little picture of it, and it ended up on Sifu Jim's school wall for a long time, and then it moved up to Surface Paradise. It was on the school up there. And they didn't know I did it. So when I started going there, one of the teachers said, oh, check this out. This is a bit of wisdom for you, gravity flows sideways. I said, yeah, I know, I drew that. Oh, you did? Yeah. Oh, we've had that up there forever. But it was that same idea you were saying about the gravity flowing through the person out the arms, but the whole mass is just flowing with the gravity and not even necessarily moving much. It's just unimpeded.
That's right, and that's one of the. Well, I could talk all day about the form, but gravity is movement. You drop something, it displaces something. If you drop if you jump in the bathtub full of water, your weight mass displaces the water. It's just basic, fundamental, very basic physics. Yeah. And so if gravity displaces something, where's that going? So when you allow gravity if you give your mass to gravity, then as it displaces, that's what takes your arm forward in Tan Sao. See, one of the things we do in Tan Sao, or we look for in Tan Sao, for those who are a bit more past the fighting stage, is we're looking to get the hand out here without moving it out there. We don't want to take charge of it and put it out there, because the minute we do that, we're using our muscular forces to take it out.
Yep.
We let gravity displace it and take it out.
Well, I like that. I like the way you put things.
So that's what you're doing now. Breath. I liked what you said about being open and flowing like water. Breath is like water. Breath is your chi. Chi is breath. It's one of the elements of chi, breath. And breath is continuous. It's flowing like gravity. It's in and out, in and out, in and out. You don't stop, because if you stop, you die.
Yeah,
You
right.
can't fight if you can't breathe. You know, you won't live if you don't breathe. So it's continual, and that's what keeps you alive. That exchange that's happening in your body, in your lungs, and that's why Wing Chun is good, and learning to breathe properly. Whether you do Wing Chun or not, learning to breathe properly is one of the things that will help keep you healthy, because many of the illnesses that we have are related to breath. All the respiratory illnesses that we have, for example. So if we can cleanse the lungs out properly, we're probably going to be a lot better off. Okay? So that's sort of on the health side of it. And so there's that continual change, and it's the same with water. The flowing of water is what keeps it alive, or what keeps it life-giving. If the water doesn't move, it becomes stagnant. And when it becomes stagnant, it becomes lifeless and perhaps poisonous.
Yes.
So it must keep moving, the same as your breath, and that's chi. So you must open the joints and let everything flow. As when you start to look at chi in that sense, it's no longer mysterious, because people say, oh, well, there's no such thing as chi. Well, I say, well, there's no such thing as blood. Oh, yeah, there is if I cut myself. Yeah, well, then you can see it. So now you know there's blood there. We know there's chemicals flowing through our body, but can you see them?
No.
We know that our body is electric. Can you see it? Well, I can feel it when my heart beats. You know, your body is magnetic. These are elements that make up the body, but they're not just visible. You know, nor is chi. Chi is the life force. If I can rant on a little bit about that, chi is what you get at conception from your mother and your father. And your mother nurtures chi. That's called the nurturing of chi.
Right.
And when you are born, the moment you are born, you start breathing. It's the breath of life. So now your chi, you've been nurtured by your mother, which starts to become a bit of an ongoing process in conjunction with the fact that you now breathe for yourself. You must keep breathing or you will die. Then you must cultivate chi, because you use up energy. Chi is energy, and you're going to use it up and deplete it. So you must cultivate it. How do you cultivate it? You cultivate it through nourishment, the continual nurturing from the mother, the food that you take in, and the exercise that you do. That's how you replenish your chi. Yeah, it's just a bit about chi.
No, that's really great. I think it's important, especially for us Westerners, to discuss chi, because one of my Chinese friends said that the reason Qigong didn't talk a lot about chi was that Westerners rejected the idea, and so he didn't want to upset them by talking about a thing that they thought was superstition or unscientific. I'm particularly interested in consciousness, because my other life, I'm an artist, and creativity and tapping into the unconscious mind and bringing images out of a dream state, which is not a normal consciousness state. I can access sort of the dream state while I'm awake without drugs. But when I put pen to paper or pencil or paint, something talks to me, and it's a visual language. But I feel when I practice Kung Fu, the same sort of thing teaches me in 3D images that I see in my mind, and sometimes I really feel it. I feel like a virtual me, like you said about the Tan Sao coming out. For quite a long time, I've been feeling like a phantom arm comes out, and I just float after it. Like the mind arm does the Tan Sao, but I just let the other one go after it, and go through the whole form like that. It's just one of the practices I do. I don't know how many other people do that, but it's something that seems to help me. But I wanted to ask you what you think of the concept of Qi as consciousness or subconscious mind, and also, like, obviously you don't have to agree with me, but if you also, do you feel any vibration at all when you're really empty?
A student would come to me and say, they call me Kevin or Sifu Kevin or Instructor Kevin or whatever. So they might come to me and say, "Oh, Sifu Kevin, when I was doing my form the other day, I felt the sensation in my feet. I started to get like a pins and needles type of feeling started in my feet, and then slowly coming up my legs. And is that Qi?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what your Qi feels like.
Right.
I haven't experienced that or whatever, so I can't say. Perhaps you've been standing in one place for too long and it's the blood settling in your feet. You need to work on your circulation.
Yeah, right.
Maybe you need to move a little and stop standing in one place for an hour and a half."
Yeah. That's true.
But maybe it was Qi. I don't know what his Qi feels like. You know what I mean? So when you're standing in your form, this is what I say. It's about movement. It's about recognizing the flow or the energy and keeping it circulating, not becoming stagnant in your foot or in your arm because a joint is locked or because a muscle is tense, but about allowing everything to keep flowing so that you can feel it flow. You can feel things flowing through your veins. Ask anyone who gets into some sort of dope, or maybe you just eat 3 cakes of chocolate in a row and feel the sugar surging through your veins.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you can feel it. That circulation, you must keep going. If you stand in one place for too long, maybe it's becoming stagnant. The blood is, you may have a circulation problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I can't tell the student or someone else what their Qi feels like or doesn't feel like or whatever. All I know is that it's there and you can use it. Whether the other person wants to believe in it or not is that's their choice. They can not believe in it, but I'll tell you something, they still have it. Anyway, I think I might have diverged from your question.
No, that's a good answer.
So that's just some ideas on that. But getting back to the consciousness, the conscious mind, that is part of the process of working with Qi. Is having working with that conscious mind. I have another area which I've written about in the past, and which I'm writing more about, or a little more about, in my next book. In fact, I think I mentioned it in my dummy book, but that is what I call the superconscious mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have the unconscious mind, the conscious mind, the whatever mind,
Yeah. It's hard to find the right word.
But you have the superconscious mind, but not everybody can find it.
Mm.
And when, if you go and look on the internet nowadays, you will find quite a lot of references to the superconscious mind.
Okay.
But most of them are not what I'm talking about. So, but obviously people have their new age ideas and their things. If you want to begin to understand about the superconscious mind, probably the one reference that you would find, which would start to put you on the right track, and I'm not saying that anything that you're doing now is not right or worthy, or no, it's all part of the process. I mean, where's the line between these things? Is there a line between them?
Yeah.
It's just a level. So the superconscious mind is in a book written by Peter Calder, who wrote a book called The Fountain of Youth. So if just for your own reference, Dave, if you want to look up The Fountain of Youth by Peter Calder,
mm-hmm.
and if you can get a copy of that book, not the early edition, you want a later edition, because there was a new chapter added. He talks a little bit about it in his first edition, but in the later editions he expanded a little more on it, I believe.
Okay.
And yes, that will get you some way to where I understand and talk about, which is something I would rather go over in person,
mm-hmm.
with someone like yourself.
Yeah.
But these are levels and explorations and adventures that people must make for themselves.
Yeah.
And enjoy the journey.
That's it. Well, I've had some really extraordinary experiences in my life, but the frustrating thing for me is I can sort of work out how that situation at the time put me in a position where something extraordinary happened, sort of a consciousness event that was out of the ordinary, particularly things that affected other people, where they felt an energy coming out of me, or people were affected by something. Sometimes at the time it was when I went through a very religious period in my 20s, when after I sort of basically got very, very ill. I went to somewhere that I perceived as a sort of a heavenly place, and then came back, and then a number of unusual things happened to me in the couple of years after that. And I tended to read them as it was God doing something to me. But I now realize that they were things that are human experiences that people have. There's nothing to do with religion or God or whatever. It's I think the scientific term is oceanic experience. You've probably heard of that. It's sort of like oceanic experience. It's sort of like a super consciousness idea. People can sort of jump to this level of experience where there's a far greater heightened sense of what's going on, and a bliss, and a time changes. But I don't want to go into all that stuff. I'm actually writing a book sort of based on some of these things. But the thing that's always frustrated me is like, okay, how could I get back to that blissful, far out state. And I'm not sure. I've sort of got some clues how it could happen, but like a lot of these sort of things, it sort of comes out of the blue. And it's one of the problems with so-called ESP or telekinesis. I believe those things are real, but a hard-headed scientist who's very skeptical about stuff like that say, well, there's no solid proof. You have to prove to me, do it, show me now. And I know I couldn't reproduce the things I've experienced. Wing Chun's the only thing I've found that where I can reproduce things that are, you and I would take as sort of fairly normal, but they seem pretty superhuman. But it's how to, without going to some guru on the mountain or, something like that, how do I find these things for myself normally? How do I make myself live in that sort of space? Is it even possible?
Well, is it possible? That's a journey, Dave, and a very personal journey, like
yeah.
I view the superconscious mind in a slightly different way, but everyone's experience and understanding is different. And I think the important thing to me is not about whether I can live it again or that. It's how do I utilize something? How can I use something?
Yeah, right.
What's it for? What's its purpose? How does it work? Rather than becoming too esoteric and going down too many holes or rabbit warrens.
A bit like art, people can say, what's the point of it? I can't eat it. It doesn't make my life better in some kind of obvious way. But I remember, sorry to go off on a sidetrack, but the same sort of thing. When I first started training to be an artist, I was going to this artist, famous guy in Brisbane, who, when I looked at his paintings, they were pretty weird, and they're obviously skillful, but they were weird, and I couldn't quite get them. And as far as I was concerned, a good piece of art was gum trees, cows, maybe a naked lady, or a knight in armor or something. I was very traditional in my headset, didn't get modern art. And this guy was just teaching us figure drawing, because I sort of wanted to get into comics and do comic book art. He's teaching us how to draw people. And then one day I was late for his class, and I was riding a bicycle, and I rode really hard for about 10 kilometers. And I got into Brisbane, and he had his studio above this advertising agency, and there was a huge glass window. And in the window, inside, you could see into the office, and there was one of his big weird paintings on the wall. And I'm just got off my bike. I'm really in this exercise state. And as I looked at that painting, it was like, vroom, and I sort of got dragged into that painting, and suddenly everything started talking to me, and just all the things that were going on. It was like one of those dreams. You wake up and go, wow, that was amazing. And you feel this strong sense of that was meaningful. I'm not quite sure what the meaning was, but it was meant to be, or something, you get that feeling. I'm looking at this painting just going, oh my God, this guy's a genius. This is like, I couldn't see it before. I'd seen this painting many times, and it just looked like a weird thing. It was like, an apple, and then some strange looking animal here, and then thing over here. And it just didn't make any sense. But because I was in that heightened state, it appealed to a different part of my mind that just went, I get it, And I think that's why a lot of people don't get art, because if it's too realistic, it's just like a photo. So they think, oh, okay, it's like a big photo. If it's too not a photo, then it's like, what is this crap? This doesn't mean anything. But it does. but it has to have its time for somebody, you know. I think that's the thing about art. You can punch somebody and say, did you feel that? But with art, you can't. It's just there.
Well, if I poke you now, can you feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a lot of it is for the viewer. It's an experience, isn't it? So you either experience something from that art, or maybe you experience nothing from it. It has no effect on you. And I guess there's two areas of art, probably more, but I'm not an artist. But apart from Wing Chun, I don't know much about anything. But I think as an artist, to me, it's about you. It's about your experience. It's your appreciation. It's come from inside you, what you've put on canvas.
Yeah.
Whether anyone else understands it or not, it becomes totally irrelevant. It's your expression.
Yeah.
The other side of it, of course, is that yes, I have to be a graphic artist or something because I have to make a living. You know. So,
yeah, that's true.
So you would express yourself that way for that, but then your real love or emotion would be what you're expressing in private. Perhaps that's why a lot of these artists, we're still finding their paintings today, because they hid them away. It was for them.
Yeah, that's true. It's sort of very self-indulgent, but it's meaningful, and it leads to other things. Which sort of brings me to your last video that I saw. I don't know how recently you made it, but the video of the pole. I'd like to put that clip into this, and because it was just so astounding, and I particularly loved it because, as I said, Bo and I, unfortunately, I didn't get it on film, but Bo and I going through the Silnium Dao, he just shoved the pole into my hand on the first day. That's right. Well, yeah, I think it was the second day. We did 3 days, but he just unexpectedly stuck the pole in my hand and said, okay, now just do what we've been doing, but now just move your arms like that, but you've got a pole. And I moved him easily and went, wow. And then he says, okay, now just turn. And I didn't think about it. I just turned like that. And it was the same as with your video. He got thrown backwards, and you can see he's really picked him up and just moved him. And then I brought him back to the same place. And all I felt was if I went, what's that over there? Oh, look, what's that over there? I didn't feel anything at all. And then when I watched your video, it was astounding watching you. It's just, especially when you had just the 2 fingers and the guy's holding the pole, and you're just going, zoop, zoop. And that doesn't seem to make sense physically, how so much force can be in 2 soft fingers, you know, just like moving in the air. But that's what do you feel when you do that?
Well, pretty much nothing, actually. Well, it was, I like to film a wee bit of stuff. I actually filmed that 5 years ago. So those clips were taken 5 years ago. So I think I was 69, 70. I'm 75 now. So
Wow.
that's that secret out of the bag. Well, thank you. Yeah, what I was going to say about that was that I didn't really feel anything, and I do these little clips partly as a bit of a record, but also I sometimes take the opportunity when I'm working with a student to film something, so he can get an idea what it looks like. It's a bit of a record for him too, for his training, as as I put in that clip, finally he succeeded, you know, like,
Yeah,
and
that was amazing that he did it.
which is, yeah, which is, I don't, he's, in fact, he was around the other day and he was saying, oh, I've got to do that again because I want to see if I can still do it.
Ivan Howe and I tried to do that for about 6 months and we couldn't do that move. And when I did it with Bo, I immediately thought of Ivan. I thought, I wish Ivan was here because it was just, I mean, it was sort of like for both of us, and Ivan's well in advance of me, but for both of us, it was like the high jumper trying to get over the 7'5" bar or something, you know, like I knew I could get over 7 foot, but that 7'5" was just too much. I was just keep cleaning up the bar all the time. Every time I tried, just psychologically couldn't get over. And then just went straight over, like, whoa, I made it. And that's how I felt. And watching you was just like, wow, it's possible. Look, this is a secret of this form. And it really is the most advanced form, I think, you know, to do that. It's just like mind-boggling.
Yeah, well, it's just an example of what can be done, and people can take it or leave it, you know.
Well, the extraordinary power of this art, like, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it all comes from that word that Bo's not so keen on, relaxation. Sorry, Bo, had to put that in. But yeah, relaxation is understood by Wing Chun in Wing Chun terms. But yeah, Ivan from memory, Ivan was a very strong boy.
Yeah, he's a rigger.
He was a scaffolder, wasn't he? Or rigger, yeah.
Yeah, well, he'd be the same age as you, and he's
yes,
he's like Bo. He's sort of quite a not tall person, but he's built like a brick, you know what? And Bo and Ivan never entered my head that I'm taller than them. But when I see the videos, it's like, bloody hell. I look like a giant compared to them, but they're both so mighty and their Wing Chun so mighty. Just, you know.
They seem like giants when you're in their presence, you know.
Yeah, that's it. They sort of like, they are really powerful. And, but, you know, watching that video of you, that's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in Wing Chun. And I'd like to share that with everybody. I know some people saw it, but I want to make sure that people who watch this channel see it, because it's real, it's not bullshit, and it's obviously what Sigong wants. You know, he, like Seabuck Frederick Moe, he does that stuff, and he's the only person I've seen on a video doing that sort of thing. And there is, you know, there's that sense people have of, oh yeah, that's 30 years down the track. You know, I'll do that 30 years. They're sort of giving themselves this out. Yeah, well, I'll do that when I'm an incredibly old fart. It doesn't freaking matter anyway. It's like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. I don't think it's supposed to take like 30, 40, 50 years. It's useless. What's the bloody point? There's got to be a better way to learn it.
Actually, it's good that you just mentioned Sophie Frederick again and Choi Sung Ting. There's something I must clear up, because a lot of this happens over the years. I am not a student of Choi Sung Ting's.
Yeah.
I'm not of Choi Sung Ting lineage. And I have to remind my students of this. It's on my website, it's everywhere. I was a student of Sifu Greggs, and I've never claimed to be a student of Choi Sung Ting. So I've been to some of his seminars. I used to send my students to his seminars. I think one seminar that we went to in Australia, I'll have to hunt out the picture and have a look, but over half of the people there were from Earl's Academy in New Zealand.
Yeah, right. Well, I think it's incredible credit to you that you are, I mean, you're doing exactly what the Chu Shong Tin lineage is about, which proves to me that it's exactly what Yip Man lineage is about. And I've always, I don't want to upset anybody, but I've always been upset when people say, they sort of put down Yip Man. They say, oh, you know, look at these people that come from him, they're not very good, or they're Wing Chuns, this and that. And Choi Shung Tin's the only true student. I don't believe that. I think he was obviously, you know, very, very long term, very, very high standard, amazing. But my good Chinese mate, Stephen Lung, told me that Sigung told him that Yip Man, when you touched him, you felt like there was 100 tons of rock hanging above your head. He said as soon as you touched his arms, you felt this grave danger, that there was this power in him he couldn't explain. You know, Sigung said that in Chinese to my mate, who I believe. And sometimes people, I think they put down Yip Man a little bit to sort of raise up Chu Shong Tin, and I don't think that's necessary. I think it makes more sense that we come from a true lineage that's always been super powerful, and probably, like you said,
yes,
back in the 1800s, maybe they were like, you know, levitating rocks or something. Who knows what they were really capable of. That's just me being a Star Wars fan, but you know, I'm sure that they were able to do incredible things. And
yes,
it's just whether we can achieve that again in our modern life, which is also always a good cop out. Like, oh, my modern life is so busy. And I think, what do you think they're doing in the old days? They're working like 16 hours a day in the paddocks. They still worked it out.
Well, that's right. Interesting note, actually. A chap rang me once, and he said, look, he said, I've got no, I won't mention any names, but he said, I've got no time to train on the wooden dummy. He said, I know how valuable a tool it is. He said, and I've got one. He said, but I just can't find the time to train on it. So I said, well, okay, well, what do you do? You know, he said, well, he said, I do my form, Sulam Tau. He said, I do that for an hour every day. He says, then I do my second form. Then I do my third form. I might practice a bit of punching or whatever. He said, and then I've just got no time left to work on the dummy. And I'm thinking, man, what a busy guy you are. I mean, this gentleman had, you know, got 6 kids or whatever, and has to provide for his family and all the usual things, you know, and you're spending all this time training and you've got no time for training on your dummy. I said to him, look, remember, the moment you stand right at the start of Sulam Tau, nothing should change right through the form. Now, sure, you're moving your arms and legs or whatever you're doing, right? But nothing should change. The feeling, the openness, everything should, you know, opening of the joints, nothing changes. You don't suddenly tense up your joints or your muscles or whatever. Nothing should change. Then when you start Chum Kiu, you do your Chum Kiu, nothing changes. Actually, they're all the same.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
You get to the butterfly knives, it should be all the same. That feeling that you have when you start Sulam Tau is the same right through. Butterfly knives, pole, whatever. It's same with the dummy. So when you do your form, you've already trained everything else.
Mm.
Now, if it's the same in the dummy, why not start with the dummy?
Yeah, right.
Just, and this is a message everybody can learn from, I hope, you know, those that want to learn this message. Just grab 3 minutes. Train every day. Just grab 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It was, oh, what can I do in 3 minutes? Well, what can you find an hour? Oh, no, I can't find an hour. No, of course you can't. That's why I haven't been training for the last 6 years or whatever it is, because no one's got an hour.
Yeah.
Just grab 3 minutes. Then at the end of the week, you've trained for 21 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, an interesting thing happens when you take 3 minutes to train on the dummy, or any of the forms, regardless. All of a sudden, one day you say, "Yeah, I've gone for 20 minutes." See, when you pick an hour, the first thing that happens is you're 10 minutes into it, and the wife sings out, "Tea's ready."
Yeah.
Or, "You said you were going to mow the lawn." Or, "Why haven't you started paint the house?
Yeah.
Tidy up your room." I don't know, whatever. All right. So there's always something. The kids want something. You've got, "Oh, geez, I forgot I got to go and pick up the young one from school."
Yeah.
All right. So you never find an hour, but you can find 3 minutes. And that 3 minutes can become 10 minutes.
Mm,
It might become an hour today. All right.
that's great wisdom.
That's the way to.
And 3 minutes can seem like 30 too, you know.
Yes.
You can have a 3 minutes that it's profound, or
Yes.
an hour that's not profound.
That's right. An hour just beating her head against the wall. Well,
Yeah.
frustrated because, you know, "Oh, is that hour up yet?" So someone say to me, "How long should I do my form for?" I would say, "How long have you got?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Or someone might ask me, "How long should I do my form for?" And I say, "Well, till you're finished."
Yeah. Yeah. Look,
Right.
we've been talking for almost 2 hours, and I do have to go and pick up my son in about 5
Yeah,
minutes, 10 minutes.
there you are. That was prophetic.
Yeah, well, but I just wanted to, I'll sort of edit this a bit, you know, I won't keep the whole thing, but we've
Oh no, yeah, I've said every word I've said I meant.
yeah, you said some wonderful things, and I
You
just
chop it up into 2 or 3, whatever you want, Dave, and you can add a video to it, whatever you want. You know?
yeah, no, this it's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it, and just getting to know you a bit more too.
Yes.
But I just wanted to sort of get a few tips about the pole and the dummy. Just if you could just quickly give us a few clues, especially like, you know, with your 2-fingered thing, just what we should be feeling when we're doing the pole form. This is more for the
Shouldn't be
people who are
feeling-
ready for that.
Yeah. Look, in everything that you do, you shouldn't be feeling anything.
Right.
That's the quickest and simplest answer I can give you.
Yeah, that's great.
But why don't we do another session in a week? Because I got a lot more stuff about the history and people that perhaps a lot of people will find some interest in, Dave, as well as some talk about some pole and dummy. Why not do that? Otherwise, now we're going to go for 3 hours, and you have to leave in 5 minutes.
That's right. Well, I think especially the last hour, we've been talking about things that I know my viewers, they love to get some Kung Fu history. Usually they're really hungry for what you've been, you know, like a master's philosophy about how to train yourself, and you know, I've really enjoyed the things you've been talking about. It's useful. It's like, yes, great, that'll help my training. And just what you said about 3 minutes, that's priceless, because I know I prevaricate about all sorts of things, and my wife says to me, "You try to do too much." I'm learning Icelandic, Scottish drumming, Kung Fu, art. You know, I'd be stamp collecting if I could. I'm sort of like, I'm interested in everything, but you've
keep doing it, Dave.
Yeah.
You know, I'll leave you with another piece of wisdom. I should save it for our next Zoom meeting. But Pablo Casals was a great cellist. Played the musical instrument.
Yep.
And when he was 93, one of his students said to him, "How come you practice every day?" He said, "Oh, well, I'm progressing."
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's the same with your art and everything you're doing. Just do a little bit every day, and
Yeah,
3 minutes a day.
That's spot on. And you know how long I've been learning Icelandic language?
I don't know how long, but I remember seeing something a couple of years ago where you were talking to someone about how far you'd progressed with it or something. And
Oh, right. I sort of embarrassed to say it, but I've been doing it for 45 years. And I've always been very ordinary at it, but I'm just too stupid to give up. And in the last 2 years, I made a vow. I said to my kids, I am going to damn well speak this language. And I've really put an effort in, and something's happened. And now I can read it. When I open up a book or I look on a website, I'm reading it, I'm going, bloody hell, I don't even know that I know these words, but I know them. I just understand. And my tongue is starting to, it's a real tongue twister. But I feel myself switch into an Icelander. I sort of even almost feel like I don't know English. I start to feel like I'm Icelandic, and the words are rolling off my tongue. Wow. And it's like, okay, it took me forever. And there was some guy who learned it in a week and was on Iceland TV, some genius. And I was going, oh, wow, he learned it in a week. Yeah, well, I've taken 50 years, but I'm doing it too, you know. Anyway, I'll leave.
The joy in that would be no less.
Yeah, it's just been a pleasure and fun, and I've met some really Icelanders are funny buggers, and I've had a lot of good fun with Icelanders. But yeah, thanks so much, Kev, and we'll get together again. I'll really look forward to it.
Yeah, I'd like to do another one, because I do have met a lot of interesting people, and you know, good Wing Chun people that maybe some people would like to know a little bit more about, perhaps.
Oh yeah, I want people to know about you, and you know, come and visit you over there. And you know, I don't know if it's possible, but it'd be cool to have a video where you were set up in your training area, your quoon or your backyard or something. If we could film there and you could show us a few things, just sort of show us some of the stuff you do with your students. Or
I charge a lot of money for a private lesson, Dave.
Okay. Well, I've got 1,000 subscribers almost. If I get them all to chuck them, you might be able to afford it.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful to share some what little I can with you, and yeah, you know, I'll write down in my diary. Dave wants to know a bit more about how I feel when I do the pole and the dummy, or whatever. To be honest, I'm not a fan of the pole, actually.
It's good if you're out in the barge, though. If you're stuck on a sandy riverbank or something,
yeah,
you can.
So you know, I have an interest in it, obviously, but for me, I prefer, as a weapon, I prefer the butterfly knives, and it's just the way I am. You know, but yeah, maybe we can talk more about that sort of thing as well, and the whys and wherefores and whatever.
That would be fantastic. So I'll do my traditional signing off.
Thanks very much, Dave. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Kev. Absolutely.
Good.
All right, so I'll cut it there. And thanks, mate. That was just great fun. And thanks for 2 hours of your time. I suppose I owe you a couple of grand now, but I'll pay it off in installments.
The grandometer's ticking over. The grandometer's turning over, ticking away there.